Okay, so if we take a look at this version, what we've got here is the number of modules. So sometimes you have to put RAM in pairs on some motherboards. Older motherboards used to expect if you had 8 gig of RAM, for example, you'd have to put 2 modules in of 4 because you couldn't just put an 8. So we want to give people the opportunity, you've got these types of motherboards, to be able to say, I need 2 modules. And all we do is you type 2 in the box, we press this enter button, and it updates that to 2. Now it is in the price column, and we did move this label out of there before, but unless I physically move all these into the next column by updating every single one of my labels, the easiest thing for us to do is probably just to put this back into this second column, and we do need to then add this button. But I'm also going to take this a little step further by adding a little bit of validation, so that if we type in something that doesn't make any sense, it throws a bit of an error message at us. So you can see there I've typed in a letter and it's telling us it doesn't like that because it's not correct. Okay, so the number works fine, but anything that doesn't make any sense will throw an error. So if we don't type anything in the box, or if we type in something that it doesn't recognize as a valid number, it throws this error message at us. And that's quite easy to do. We're going to define all this in a function in a moment, but the first thing we need to do is to go back to our code and create the button that we press that enters the number of modules. Okay, so if we scroll down, mine's around about a line 126, 127. So it's where we did the RAM entry. What are we looking for? Here's where we define the entry, the actual entry box. Okay, so that's here, this entry. And I called mine ENT underscore RAM. And then this here is my label that I defined, which I called LBL response. Now, I'm just going to move it back into column 2 so that it doesn't end up on top or underneath of the button that I'm about to put in. So the first thing to do is just update this response on the grid and put it back into column 2, despite the fact that we did move it out of there earlier on to avoid confusion on the prices. But we won't add this up in the prices later, so it isn't really going to make a huge lot of difference. Right, so what we need to do is then create this button. All right, so I can call it RAM button, or I can call it module button. It makes sense to call it something that we can find again later on. So we can just call it BTM modules or BTM module or something like that. All right, and it's the same way we've defined buttons in the past. So we do TK dot button, and the same way as we've done everything else, we have to place it on the window, and it really is just a button we want people to submit or enter, so that it puts whatever we type in the entry field somewhere. So I can just type enter or submit, something simple that people will understand. Now we're going to put a command on this later, but we haven't written it yet, and if we put that command on there now, the code won't run probably because it's going to be looking for something it can't find. So we are going to do this later on. So let's just comment this so we can find it later on. So this is our RAM modules button. Okay, so we can come back and find this in a little bit of time. Now this is where we need to put this in the right place on the grid. So it'll be btn modules dot grid, and we want this to be in the same place that we just moved that 0 from a second ago. So it'll be column 1, and it'll be on the same row, which in my case is row 8. So if I run this now, what I've got now is my 0's gone back into this column 2, my entry is remaining here in this column, but now I've got this enter button. It's not working yet because we haven't caused it to do anything, but it's there and we can see it and it says the word enter. Now you can alter the width if you want to, same as you did with the other ones. It's fairly straightforward, and if you wanted to change the way that we did this login and the way that we did this total so it looks like a flatter, more modern looking button, then that really is just a case of just changing the way that it looks. So if you quickly scroll back up to where we created the button on our login screen, okay, which is just a little bit further down here. There's the button for our login, and we used a TTK button, didn't we? That's why it's a little bit different. So just to keep it all the same, we'll use a TTK button for this as well. All right, so we get that kind of flatter button. It looks the same as the other, so it doesn't look odd. All right, so that's good to go. Now we need to write the function that tells it what to do with the number we type into this box. It will also validate that we're typing in the correct information and then update this label with the config just like we did with the others.